Hello everyone, my name is Clay and welcome to First Impact, the show where I take a first impression styled look at different games after at least 2 hours of playtime. Today, thanks to a key provided by the devs for the purposes of this video, we're going to be looking at the pixel art action RPG, the Slormancer. I ran across this game on Twitter actually and was curious based on the name. When I hear SLOR, I instantly think of Ghostbusters. And I was rather surprised to find it to be a pixel art 2D action RPG with some very nice visuals. So, when I was able to ask the devs for a key, I did so, and here we are. The Slormancer tells the story of a small town and its issues with the titular Slormancer. I have no idea what the Slormancer is. I have no idea why the Slormancer is doing this, or what they want. Mainly because only Chapter 1, The Graveyard, is currently available in the early access release. You play as one of 3 reluctant adventurers who are being sent on an errand by the town's champion, and are one of the only ones who somehow evade the Slormancer coming into town and teleporting everybody else off. And from there, you spend your time trying to restore the town and solve the mystery of the Slormancer. I will say it took me about 5 hours to clear the graveyard on one character, and there is some repeatable content which I'll get into later, so keep that in mind. The best part of this plot is the humor and the dialogue. Right from the get-go, you get some quality comedy, with none of the adventurers wanting to be chosen. They literally downplay their skills, and on the select screen, whichever adventurer you have selected will have the other 2 pointing at them, urging you to pick them. The humor is just solid, as is all of the writing and dialogue that I've encountered. Also, I gotta say, this game is fantastic to look at. The designs of the characters are great, the animations are solid, and the effects of your attacks are beautiful. However, things can get a bit hectic in combat due to all the flash and projectiles flying around, so please be aware of that. At no point did I ever get distracted, but I did suffer some slowdown when a lot of enemies were on screen. The music is decent enough as well, but right now there just isn't enough of it. I ended up just muting the game's soundtrack, which you can do by simply pressing the M key on the keyboard and playing my own music. You'll also probably notice a lack of music in this video, which is because I forgot to turn it on. I'm bad! Now, let's go ahead and get into how the game actually plays, shall we? First off, you have to select from one of 3 characters. Don't worry too much about this choice as you unlock the other 2 during the story and can freely switch between them. Your choices are the Knight, a fighter type, the Huntress, your archery type, and the Mage, your magical type. Each character has a primary and secondary ability, chosen from a set of 8, a specialization ability, and up to 4 item and ancestor abilities. Each of your abilities can unlock mastery points through use, which then unlock customizations for those abilities. Things like adding pierce chance, or poison, or multiple rays. And then to increase these passive effects you use Slormite, which is a currency you earn from killing monsters. You also gain 1 stat point at every level up to spend in one of 8 stats. You can freely respec these stats, by the way, so I wouldn't worry too much again, and it does encourage experimentation. Further, while there are a ton of different stats and different attributes, you can very easily find out what they are all about simply by hovering over them on the character screen. I had no idea what rebound chance was, for instance, so I went to my character stats page, hovered over rebound chance, and instantly got a tooltip telling me what it is. This is awesome, as access to information leads to informed choices, and more action RPGs should do this. Another cool thing is how this game handles weapons, which it calls SLOR Reapers. You find these from closing rifts during the game, and each one has its own level. They're also stored in their own codex, so you never have to worry about losing them or selling them. As you use a SLOR Reaper, it will gain experience, which levels it up. This increases its damage, and if it has a secondary effect, like increased raw damage or adding thorns damage, that also increases. I like this, as it means I can experiment with different weapons, and I don't really have to worry too much about finding a new one, as once I've got it, it's mine. You also have your standard ARPG gear system with rings and amulets and all of that stuff with multiple rarities and effects. Pretty bog standard, honestly. Although the inventory itself seems kinda small. Finally, I mentioned earlier that you get 4 Ancestor abilities. These are similar in style to Path of Exile and its skill tree, only vastly smaller. You earn Ancestor Stones by giving a man fancy clothes, seriously, which you can then socket into this tree to unlock access to both passive and active abilities. As far as I can tell, these stones are account-wide, and the Ancestor abilities are the same for all 3 classes, but each character advances the abilities separately. Right now, the system is not super detailed either, as only the first 3 ranks of abilities seem filled in. So time will tell how interesting and fascinating this gets, although right now it seems pretty cool. The other thing I mentioned earlier has to do with the content available in this early access build at release. As far as the story goes, it's light on it. As I said, only Chapter 1, The Graveyard, is in, and that again took me about 5 hours to get through. However, you can also unlock the Expedition system, which is this game's version of Rifts from Diablo 3 or Maps from Path of Exile. Sadly, as far as I can tell, there are only 2 tile sets right now in the Expedition system, but it is endless, repeatable scaling content that exists. And if all you want to do is level up, try things, and find new SLOR Reapers, it's here for you to do. There are difficulty modifiers as well as more options that are coming, so bear that in mind. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the Slormancer as it stands. And at its release price of $15 in early access, I think it's well worth the price of entry. The devs did warn me that there is a chance the price will increase at full release, so bear that in mind. And the framework overall here is damn good, and I'm excited to see what comes next. Also, I only ran into 1 bug while playing in like the 7.5 hours I did. As always, I want to thank you all so very much for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please hit that like button. It really does help these videos get seen. And make sure you subscribe for more reviews, Let's Plays, and other projects. Please remember again to stay nerdy, treat each other kindly, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.